Okay, as you know, I am still on my sourdough journey. I don't know how many videos I've made, but I made a lot. All of the batches I have of bread I have tried to make have failed. Um, the thing about sourdough is it involves a lot of different steps. If you research it on your own, there's all kinds of different creators out there telling you or suggesting what you should do in order to make a loaf, and it's tough. They have terms that are hard to understand and to memorize. It's really intimidating if you've never done it before, from making your own starter or asking from someone else for a starter to using a starter, how to use a starter, and the formulas. So right now, after last night, I made some more dough, and it actually came out pretty decent. I think a big reason why my dough might not have been coming out well is I was putting salt in. And a lot of people tell you to put salt in with the water and the starter when you first mix it up. But I've heard other things, such as when you put salt on, it slows down the fermentation process. Either way, I'm actually at the next step, and I have dough that I can actually handle. So with that in mind, here is the dough that I made. I made a small batch because I've already been through 4 bags of flour. You see the line right there on my container. I stumbled upon this container in my cabinets. So I'm like, oh, cool, I can actually use it. Well, this doubled in size. It's got bubbles on it. Not like some of the real fancy ones you might see other creators doing. But nevertheless, it has bubbles on it. So that's what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to take this out and shape it. I'm at a step that I use. You mix it, you do stretch and folds, then you let it rest. And when it's resting, like right now, that's called bulk fermentation. So you can see that it went doubled in size, right? They tell you it's supposed to be domed, have bubbles on it. Mine had it, but I think I didn't do it right when I first did it. But apparently I might be able to salvage this dough. Okay, so I put it in the refrigerator instead of letting it stay out on the counter bulk fermenting. When you let it ferment on the counter, it's going to grow faster than when you put it in the refrigerator. As a matter of fact, they call putting your dough in the refrigerator retard fermentation, because, and not retard in a bad sense, retard just means to slow something down. Okay, so I'm going to take this out since it has bulk fermented and I believe it's ready, and I'm on to the next step called shaping. What are your thoughts on the feminist movement? I don't know, man. I'm not involved in that. I really don't talk much about politics. I don't know much about politics. Okay, so check it out. This thing's gonna fall. It falls right out. This is the first time I've actually had a dough do that, and I'm pretty stoked about that. It all came out. Okay, so with the pre-shape, you are gonna shape it. Excuse me one second. Just that pre-shape. So with the pre-shape, let me see if you guys can see this. There it is. Gonna wet your hands. All I'm gonna do is shape this. And apparently when you shape it, it's supposed to give the dough tension, make it tighter, right? So wet my hands in here. And all I'm gonna do is bring it together, right? This is the first time I've had a dough that I can actually work a little bit. But you're going to turn it in on itself. And this is a pre-shape. After this pre-shape, my hand's real wet, so this is a little sticky still. It's not real firm. It's a little bit wet, sticky. But when you do this, you just turn it in on itself, right? And that makes the dough more like a ball of dough. And the term for that is called a bowl. But you can see some bubbles there, right? See that? That's all you're going to do is turn it on itself. It's going to firm it up. All right? And if it's a little sticky, just keep your hands wet. You can use a bench scraper, which is what I have, but kind of just tighten it up. And as you can see, it's tightening up. If you look closely, I don't know if you guys can see, it's got some bubbles in there, which is what I want. So after this phase of making the dough, this is the pre-shape, then you have the actual shape, right? I'm going to let it rest for 15 to 20 minutes, and I'm going to shape it again. But yeah, this is, for me, I'm kind of excited because this is the first time I've done one, and it's actually looks okay. I have one more. So basically you turn it in on itself, and it's similar to stretching a skin on a drum, right? You're not getting your hands in it and kneading it or squishing it. You just keep turning it in on itself. Pretty cool. So now I'm going to let this rest. And today, since my starter was doing so good, I'll show you guys my starter real quick. Took it out of the fridge, let it get to room temperature, and then I fed it. Hey, how you guys doing? And it grew quite a bit. It actually was even higher. It was all the way to the top. And that's what I used to make the second batch, a larger batch of bread dough. I don't know if you guys can see the bubbles in it on the sides. So I'm pretty stoked about this. I've got my, they tell you when it's jiggly like Jell-O and it's domed on top, which it is. It's supposed to pull away from the sides a little bit. It's not like super duper easy to pull off the sides. I've got my Dutch oven ready because what I'm going to do next is what's called a cold proof, right? And when you do that, when you proof it, when you cold proof it, you put it in the refrigerator in a basket. Here's the basket. When you do that, you let it rest for like 8 to 12 hours. That's supposed to help the flavor get better. Hey, thanks, Jax. I appreciate that. What's up, Joshua? Thanks for being on here. So check it out, man. The dough actually came out okay. I don't know how well you guys can see it. I'll actually give you a close-up here. Hold on a second. You can see it, right? You see that? See the bubbles in there? I think I might have actually succeeded. All right, thanks. I appreciate that, Josh. Okay, so they tell you after the pre-shape, you let it rest for 15 to 20 minutes, which is what I'm going to do. And then I'm going to open it up and spread it out as if you're making a giant rectangle, like this board that I have it on right now, right? I'm going to do that. And then they have all kinds of folding methods. The one that I'm going to use is called an envelope method because basically you spread it out like the shape of the rectangle and you fold it over on itself like an envelope. Afterwards you roll it, and when you do that, you're making it tighter, basically, right? So I want to attempt to shape this one. This is really big, but I don't know if I'll do that on here. I don't want to, not that, I don't know if it's going to succeed or fail, but either way, it's pretty intimidating when you're first doing something. And then not just that, but when you're also doing it in front of people, it's even more intimidating. Because people are pretty mean and ornery, you know, when they watch you online. And I didn't want to put it on this board, so what I will do is I'll turn the timer on for 15 minutes. So we set a timer for 10 minutes. Now, when your bread is ready, you put it, most people have that baked bread, especially the ones you see, they have what's called bannetons, which are fancy baskets made out of wicker or rattan, and then they have a thin liner inside them, some sort of cloth. This is what is called a tea towel, and what you do with these towels, you coat them with rice flour, not the same bread flour. When you coat these with rice flour, it makes it easier to handle. And it doesn't stick on everything, right? So this basket right here is for this bread that you see right here. Let me show you. I'll move it over so you guys can see. How's that? I'll move it back for you. Can you see that? So here's my starter. I'm going to put this back in the refrigerator. So with the starter, you feed it every day. And then you take it out when it's at its peak rise, because it'll rise and then it'll drop. But when it's at its highest, right before it drops, that's when you want to take it out, put it in your dough. So I'm going to take this batch right here, set this over here out of the way. I have another board. Now this board right here is special to me. I only make tortillas on it, but flour tortillas, and I've done a few of those videos before. So you wet your hands and you wet the board. They tell you, supposedly, all the sourdough experts out there, although it's funny because I've seen bakers making sourdough and they spread flour. The thing about the flour, when you put flour into this, back into the dough, this stuff is alive, man. This is real deal. It's alive. Okay? So it's constantly like a baby. It wants food. It wants to be fed. Alright, so we're going to empty this out on here. I'm going to put it back in this bowl because this is the bowl I'm going to use when I line it. Like, see all them bubbles in there and that webbing? That's what I want to get onto this board. And this is big. For me, this is very intimidating, but I think I can do it. My wife has confidence in me. Some of my friends, my sister says I can do it. So, hey, and if other people do it, why can't you do it, right? Check it out. This is big. It's a big one. Because after you shape this and you put it in the fridge to cold, it's called a cold ferment, right? When you have it in the fridge, it's still gonna ferment. It's still gonna grow because this thing is alive. It's like a little kid, right? A hungry kid always want to eat. You ever had, some of us have kids always hungry? That's how these are, these starters. It's a little sticky, so remember, you're going to put some water on everything, on your tools and your hands, otherwise it gets all over you like this, right? So, what I'm going to do, this one's already wet. I got to wet my hands again and then just shape it. All right? And these spatulas are really going to help you because they don't seem to stick to them as much as it will stick to your hands. But you can see the bubbles. Hang on, guys. Let me try to get you in here. Put that one out of the way. Move this one over there. I don't have a ton of space. I have a little bit of space. Okay. I'll move this one over. My hands wet again. There you go, you can see it. See how big this batch is? It's a big one. All you're going to do is just turn it in on itself. And these bench scrapers are great. You can wet these too, right? See how much less they stick to these than they do to your hands. And you can see all these bubbles in here. Now all I'm going to do is just try to shape it. So I'm going to try to round it up. And I can use this because it really is sticky. But the more you turn it, right, and continue to form it, it's going to get stiffer. Slowly but surely. This is going to be a big roll. I'd probably make 2 rolls out of this. So, when you do this, when you shape these like this, I would call it ball, right? How the dough looks, the artisan dough. But it's actually called a boule, B-O-U-L-E, which is kind of weird, you know. So, but it is what it is. A little more water in here. Because it gets sticky fast, it seems like. Doesn't, in the videos I've watched, it seems to never get sticky with the people making it. But everything I've done so far, it's always gotten sticky. So this is the pre-shape. I'm pretty sure I can probably make 2 loaves out of it if I want to, but not. This is going to be a big loaf. What I can see in here is I see a ton of bubbles, really, which is good. That's going to give this bread, they call it a crumble, which I don't understand the terms, you know. But as it gets tighter, it's going to start holding its shape a little more, right? Because you're turning it in on itself, and as I said earlier, it's similar to putting a skin on a drum or a bongo or whatever. So those tools, percussion tools, right? This big guy, big guy. It's coming together slowly but surely. But you basically, when I've seen everyone do it, they turn them like kind of clockwise or counterclockwise, depending on how you do stuff, right? But all it does is you're turning it in on itself. You're not kneading it or trying to smash it or mash it together. It's tightening up, slowly but surely. Keep turning it. See how it's not a big blob anymore? Pretty cool. Pretty cool though, but because when you start watching these videos, these people got some serious bread making skills. And that's all I'm trying to do right now, just to make my own bread. Yeah, I'm sure it would be easy to just go to the store and buy a loaf. But if you've ever gone to the store to buy a loaf of sourdough, look at the ingredients, right? These ingredients right here are high quality bread flour, right? I use King Arthur's bread flour. 12.7%. There's more. Then they have people that even mill their own flour, which is pretty cool, you know. But yeah, this I'm gonna let should be ready to do the other work on the other dough. Let's see. You're just working it, right? Push it back in and turn it. There goes my timer. looking good. Okay, I'm going to move this out of the way after I wash my hands real quick and get the next one. So I'm going to take this big monster out of the way and let it rest. But you see all those bubbles in it? See them bubbles? Pretty cool, huh? Oh, yeah. Excuse me, Joshua, when you start researching this, it's insane. Right? Okay, so that's going to rest for 15 minutes. Now we're going to shape this one. I'm pretty excited about this right here. Hopefully it'll work out right. So with this one, if you guys can see me, turn it this way so you can look better. So all you do, apparently this is called an envelope fold. So you stretch it out, right? Let's see, let me use this. This thing has firmed up a little bit more. I'm going to get this right in the center. So what'd you think of that, Joshua, when you read all that stuff? Pretty crazy, huh? All the things that it entails. Okay, so now I'm just going to stretch this out, right? So you push it down. It's pretty tight, which is nice. You can see all the bubbles in it. This has not happened to me, so I'm kind of a little bit in shock, you know. They have all kinds of tests. They call one the window pane test, where you hold your dough, right? But basically this is going to give it strength and layers, or that when you roll it, right? I'm going to go like this, pull it. Supposed to be like an envelope. I probably could have stretched it farther, spin it around. Stretch it. All right. Then what they do is they roll it. Kind of like a burrito, right? Just roll it pretty tight. It's way wetter than the dough that I've been observing online, that's for sure. See how sticky it is too. And basically, that's your dough right there. Doesn't look like the ones I've seen, but it's kind of close, you know. I'm a little happy about that. So I have flour in this bowl right here, right? That's where I'm going to put this in, and then I'm going to let it proof. That's after I do the next one. We're going to end right there because it's going to take overnight, really. So I'll be baking this tomorrow in the morning. So this is going to be the bottom of my dough. It's a little, it's wet right now. I think partially because all the water I'm using, and I'm still a novice. I am a beginner, not even a novice. So I'm going to take this dough and set it in this bowl. There we go. Got it in there. All right. There it is. Now, normally what I see people do is they take it and they pull it. Right? They pull the skin together. They call that sewing. But what I'm going to do right now is put a little more flour in here because it's sticking a little. Wash my hands. Put a little more flour in there. Oh, cool. Yeah, it is a gas stove. Yes, it does have a long middle burner, brother. Yep, sure does, man. I fixed it a few times. The thermostat, not the thermostat, the igniter went bad. But, okay, so this is ready to cover up. So I'm gonna. You want a lot of flour on here. This is a different kind of flour. It's a rice flour because it doesn't stick to this dough. Well, it sticks to the dough. That's what's going to give part of it its color, but also it's going to give it that look that they call it the rustic look, right? So that one's done. Now it's going to go into cold or chilling, the cold ferment. This is supposed to give it more flavor, right? Because it's all, this bread, this dough is still going to be growing. It's just going to grow slower now. So that's what I'm going to put in the fridge, okay? I'll be right back. So you see my Dutch oven. I think this next batch probably can make it into 2 batches. We'll see, because it's a lot. This is the bowl I got it out of. It looks like a big gigantic pizza, doesn't it? Pizza, pizza. Yeah, this is really big, guys. So, wet my hands. See what I can do with this guy. So as you turn it in on itself, what it does, like I said earlier, is it tightens the dough ball, or boule. And I've seen guys fix the dough, even though it was wet. They say very light hands. I don't have light hands. All right, now I'm going to spread it out and fold it. Just basically spread it. huge, man. I don't have enough board to do this guy. That's all right. Do what I can. So you basically try to stretch it as much as you can, right? Remember, everything's wet, makes it easier to handle. I'm just going to fold it back on itself. Pretty cool because you can see all the bubbles in there. It's a little wet now. Just like a blob. I wish it were like the ones I've seen on social media where they're so easy to handle. Everything looks so easy. Like when you watch a professional athlete playing the sport and you think, oh, I can do that. I can do that. No, you can't do that. It's the reason why there's pros and there's amateurs, right? I am an amateur bread maker. Or yeah, because I have made bread before. I have made regular bread with yeast in it, but never have I made sourdough. Okay, so here we go. Now we're going to roll it back on itself. You see, it's a little loose, and I was told not to put any more flour in it. And it's funny because automatically, whenever you work with dough or bread or different things, for example, I make a lot of flour tortillas. If it's too wet, you add a little bit of flour. But for sourdough makes its own yeast. So you don't have to do that. You let it ferment on itself. That's why they have that term, bulk fermentation. You're like, well, what is it? That's when the dough automatically does its own thing, works its own magic. Pretty cool. Give me a little more water here. Yeah, the dough that I see online, it's not wet like this. It's pretty dry, pretty silky, satiny, kind of like a baby's behind. This is very wet. It's kind of blobby. But when you put it in your container, they say Banneton. You can use a bowl and a towel. When you do that, it's going to have the same effect. You're just going to save $80 by not going to Williams and Sonoma and buying these things. I started to price them online, and I found some at Walmart for like $10. And when you look at the fancier ones, are $80, and I'm like, why would you spend that much money for something, bless you, that doesn't really, this will do the same job. But I was telling you earlier about the terms and the things that you need that they tell you when you first get into sourdough baking, and it's intimidating, man, because you're like the kid that comes to school and has hand-me-downs and everybody else has new clothes, new shoes. Hand-me-downs are clothes that have been handed down to you from someone else that already wore them. They're used clothes, basically. And there's nothing wrong with that, But, hey, for us, we're trying to be a cool kid or a cool person. You don't want that, right? Everybody wants what's trending or what's new or what's It's not always that way. Okay, so since this is so big, I really would like to make it into two, but not. See how wet this is, right? You can see that. Turn it. Remember, they say don't add flour, don't add more flour, because flour is like cement. The bread that I've made so far, it has been like hockey pucks, chocolate chip cookies from Chili's, round and hard and gummy. Well, not necessarily hard. It was chewy and tasted good. It had a sourdough taste, but as far as the shape, how it blows up in a dome type, they call that the spring, right? That's what they call it. I didn't have any spring. And then when you cut the dough open, they call that the crumble, which is interesting because I always thought crumble was what was on the outside and not the inside. But yeah, man, that's it. So now I'm trying to get this tighter, and it's really kind of working for me. I already rolled this, didn't I? Let me see. I guess not. I don't know. I'll find out. I think I did. Yeah, I did. Okay. Still there? Oh, it's pretty easy, Joshua. You can Google it, because the oven itself will give you a code when you press it, like F4 or something, and you can Google what that says, and it'll tell you the exact thing to change. For example, mine, I think it was F4, or was it F4 or F7, honey?
I think it was F9.
Well, she said, my wife said it was F9 because she told me, yeah, I'm getting a code. So you get a code on the stove, and then when you look that up, it'll tell you what you can replace. Normally, it's the igniter. And, all right, so I'm going to take this bowl that I had earlier. I am going
just buy
to
the igniter off of Amazon.
Right, yeah, you can buy the igniter off of Amazon. Very cheap. What was it, like $10?
No.
$20, $40?
Somewhere around there.
I think maybe my wife was telling me it was like $40, but you buy it on Amazon. It's a lot cheaper because if you go to an appliance store, you're going to spend like $60 or $80. Then if they want to come and look at your oven, they're going to charge you. Also. So yeah, it's pretty crazy. All right, so I have a towel, a tea towel, so to speak, that I'm going to put in here. I'm going to flour it. That's another thing I think I saw people with. Oh, babe, what do you call that? My wife has this sifter, not a sifter, a little. She has a fancy schmancy little basket, hand thing like this, right? And it closes. And when you see the people online, that's what they're using. They're all pouring it in like that. So it looks pretty neat, right? And you're like, oh wow, that's pretty cool. And that's the thing, when you go somewhere or see something and you have the right tools to do the job, that's very impressive, you know. But if you don't have it, you're like, okay, I don't have this, I don't have that. For example, my sister was telling me, yeah, you got to get a Banneton. I didn't know what a Banneton is, or they call it a lame, or I would pronounce it a lame. Most Americans would pronounce it a lame, and all that is a fancy razor holder right here. They give you a straight razor, right? Because this is what you put your notches in the bread. You cut them at an angle. This is before you bake it. Then they tell you, oh, you need a whisk, right? to mix the dough. What kind of whisk? A Dutch whisk. Well, I got one, a cheapie, and it broke today, but it's the whisk. Okay, so now I'm going to get this dough somehow, bring it together. It is very wet, but I'm going to put it in here. I probably should just pour it in because it's that wet. And then remember, it's going to be in the fridge now for hours, 12 hours, 14 hours. In my research today, I'm sorry I did a moment, had an moment, but I heard by watching another baker that she says she makes her dough in bulk once a week, and she cooks it. She can keep it in for as long as 10 days. Okay, so this is in. Now I'm going to sprinkle some more flour on top of it. Cover it up and let it finish its fermenting. So, Lord willing, hopefully tomorrow I can come back on here. My wife will be kind enough to let me make a YouTube video. She wears her headphones so you don't hear all the background noise. But yeah, that's it. Put a little bit of flour on there after I clean my hands up. Another one of the terms they're going to tell you and you're going to find out about as you make sourdough is your hydration. It's always going to be flour, water, and salt, right? That's what your starter is. Flour. Your starter is flour and water. Your actual bread is flour, water, and salt, right? And of course your starter. Your starter is the live active yeast. That's it, guys. I made a mess. I'll clean that. Once you do that, you close it up. Cover it with some plastic saran wrap or something, whatever you got. Put it in the fridge. We're fortunate to have a refrigerator outside that I can't show you. I think I might get some more plastic. This doesn't seem to be sticking very well, so I'll get some more. And after this, I'm going to put it in the fridge, let it do some more cold fermenting, right? So the very last step that I'm going to do, which is tomorrow, is the baking. But before you bake it, you got to turn the dough again, right? You got to shape it just a tiny bit more, and then you notch it with your bread knife or razor. They call it a vein, or they call it a long. But yeah, that's it, man. So it's gonna rest in here, I don't know, 12 to 18 hours, up to 10 days if I want. But the next time I see it, it's still growing, right? Because that yeast that is inside here is still eating up the flour, whatever it can. When it's done, then it changes its composition. So that's it for tonight, guys. Thanks for watching. If you would like to subscribe to my channel, feel free to. And I appreciate the nice and the friendly comments. With that in mind, have a nice evening. God bless you.